Bueno, mi reloj dice que son y 29, pero ya me prendieron las luces, así que empiezo a hablar. Hola, mi nombre es Gabriel Simonet.
My name is Gabriel Simonet. I'm the marketing manager of GeneXus. Our talk is going to be about innovating with design systems. I'd like to tell you about what we are doing and also to see how this can have an impact on you or if you are part of the GeneXus community. Before talking about design systems, I'm going to go a bit backwards and tell you why we are so interested in design systems when we discovered them. Our purpose at GeneXus is to simplify software development, automating everything that can be automated. I mean, why is it that we do the things we do? Why is it that we have this kind of event with thousands of people? We want to simplify software development. The vision that Breogán and Nicolás had when they founded this company 30 years ago was to have a vision. Their vision was to make software that makes software. The funny thing is that the vision 30 years ago is still valid. To simplify the development of software, still believe that this is the road, software that makes software. What we do at GeneXus every day when we work is to do this, is to help people create better applications. That's a summary, and we facilitate things quite a lot. If you came to Gaston's lectures, GeneXus creates a lot of technology and solves many complex problems through one single platform. Now, how can we solve all these scenarios? And don't read it carefully; it doesn't matter. But we do lots of things by following certain principles, and the principles that apply to these to this talk are related to the applications that can become evolutionary and future-proof, can respond to the changes of technology and the needs of users. It's future-proof because we want to make it independent of technology so that next year's technology doesn't affect what we are doing now. These are the principles that apply to this talk. In the past few years, for those of you who have attended these meetings or working with GeneXus for some time, know that some time ago we had themes at GeneXus. But a couple of years ago, we started talking about language designs. When we talked about Carmine and we presented it, that was one of the things that GeneXus was generating. We talk about design languages. And when Mauro joined us, he made us discover design systems. And now we talk about design systems. Now, why design systems? And I think that there are three main reasons why we like design systems. The first one is because of all the promises they contain. And that's our talk. These are the three main things I'm going to be talking about today. What's the promise of design systems for us, for our community? Well, and what is the promise of design systems for the outside? That's the path that we're going to be taking today. Let me walk you through this. My idea is not to repeat previous talks. If you want a good talk about design systems, look at last year's Mauro Canciani's talk on design systems. If you want to know more about the principles that GeneXus is basing its future design systems, I recommend you should attend this talk by Marielle and Ines. Now, what does it mean for GeneXus to have a design system? Well, as you know, as a company, we have GeneXus. Then we have what GeneXus generates on the other side. And then we have many sites and products that we build to get to the community, to get to our customers, to get to Wiki and so on, to our website. Or there are many, many products that we work on. Now, those products are worked on by different teams. And we design them, in particularly from our marketing product, and we send them out. We send, for instance, a login system for development, for internal development, and different people apply them to different products. And that generates something that it's a gap between what we send and what the developers do sometimes, and what each one of the developers does. So in design systems, we found a promise to solve some of the problems that we were having. The gap between design and what was implemented. I don't know if you work with designers, but if you go to a designer's portfolio, in general, you don't have the final app that was developed in the portfolio. It's the design that has already been sent to the developer. Because in general, there is a gap. Beyond GeneXus, there is always a gap. And we wanted to solve it. And we found that there were certain benefits with design systems. Let's look at some technical benefits of design systems from other talks. They reduce technical debt. All the backlog that we have, we're always lying behind, not having the things that we should have now. Then it allows us to do things faster with a higher quality. And it's not only doing it for quality's sake, but we spend less money. We reduce QA efforts. It makes us potentially able to adopt new technologies faster. It's a useful reference, and it's also future-friendly. It allows us to evolve along the time. I don't know how many of you are related to the commercial area of selling GeneXus, but these values are perfectly in line with GeneXus values. That is higher productivity, multi-experience from one single platform, do it in an agile and incremental approach, easy to learn so that we can cover many technologies, and also to do something that we can do and evolve along the time. That's why we say it's future-proof. So design systems were very interesting for us. But let me go now into what design systems are. That's a question that you may be asking yourselves. If you read a book, depending on the author, you will see different things. In some cases, it could be style guides or brand guidelines, or if you go to see it from the developer's standpoint, it could be libraries or frameworks, or depending on who you're talking, it would fall into one of these the style, on the basis of certain patterns, it could build several styles. NASA also had different things, from printing to how to put their brand on a spaceship. I found this, which was very funny, and I said, I think this is like the abstract GeneXus designer, and I asked Fabian, and I said, what does this remind you of? Well, he said, I can't remember anything from it. It's this abstraction. It's the abstraction of a design system. This is the only design system of physical objects, and I'm showing it because of something that I'm going to show you later on. It's reference to the physical world. This is Bootstrap, another design system, which is rather on the code side, but it solves many of the problems that design systems solve. Primer is another framework that has many components related to design, other components that are related to the code. And all that resolves the part of design system. As a final definition, I'd like to show you three things. The one that Mauro mentioned in last year's meeting. Design systems are principles, patterns, and practices that allow us to relate design with development to have a code along the time. Or as he said, principles, patterns, and practices. The other thing that I'd like to mention is what Diana Mounter, the GitHub, from GitHub said. It's rules, constraints, and principles implemented in design and code. He's not talking about processes, design, and development, but that is good as a definition as well. Please bear with me. I'm going to talk about this later on. Now, along the time, we moved from design guides to design systems. And design system is quite big. Mauro's iceberg was much better looking than mine. I'm going to ask him for it for my next talk. So you know the what at the top It's patterns, style guides, and design languages, everything that users don't see, and it's how we do that so that users can see it. And to conclude, I'd like to say that a design system is the story of how you organize designs and builds digital products. So let's see how we build all these design systems in our company. Now, the first thing I have to tell you, I'm the manager of the marketing department, and we went from being a strictly marketing department to come closer to the user experience. Those working with GeneXus, our marketing team has grown a lot. And one of the main branches that we have is headed by Mauro, who was in the previous talk, and this is the product team. We can't take it from the development team in GeneXus. We won't steal it because we've got our own. And this is supported by a design team. We have some foreign assistants and also the support team. What we are doing is mixing up in what we were doing. We were working more separately. So if you know the faces, you'll see how clear it is. And this is how we started designing design systems, following what Brad Frost says. It's this question that he called atomic design. You build a design system from small parts to build something big, a little square with a dot, and that's an atom, and then it goes to the other place, and then you make a template, and then you have the page. I mean, that's the way we move on. Also trying to unite this app between designers and developers, finding those who love UX more, and trying to generate a somewhat continuous and creative process. Now, when we face what I said earlier, well, we've got many products and many things to do, and even if we are more people working, we are still few. So how do we face a design system that we want to work on? So what we do is we take a small pilot with many patterns and things that we'd like to see solved by a design system, and we solve it. Once it's solved, it forms part of the design system and goes down to the product. So those patterns that we find in other products are being applied. Now what happens is that sometimes some of the products need patterns or new designs. So again, we make a pilot, feed in the design system, and feed in other products. That's basically the way we work. Mauro is the person that you have to go up to if you're interested in knowing this in detail. Very briefly, I'd like to tell you about the tools we're using. We're using Sketch for design, to design, really. Everything that has to do with design language in GeneXus or Gemini, which forms part of the platform. We're using Sketch. But since we are working with a Sketch, and we're using designers, we're using Abstract. The version is through Abstract, right? Now, as regards prototypes, we are using Marvel and Envision. If you want to know more about it, this is the design team, and you can ask them, and also Juan, because also Juan works a lot, and I never mention him. Now, design systems help us to support these two principles, evolutionary and future-proof. Because we have embraced design systems and adopt them so well, we are working for our future products. It's going to be far easier to change in the future using design systems. Now, what do design systems mean for the GeneXus community? Well, they're going to be able to evolve and have better designs. On the one hand, GeneXus is bringing in and will be bringing in better bundled designs. The other thing is accelerators. These are the partners that provide us with when the bundle designs are not sufficient. And we are also working on the fact that each company can bring in its own design system. Let me go into details. We have our main design system, which is Carmine, and then Fiori 2.0 for SAP generators. You can also ask Armin Bachmann about Fiori 3.0 and Dark Carmine. The development team can answer or flee away if they don't want to answer. Now, our accelerators have 3 very powerful design systems when bundle isn't enough. So we have Ignea by Simplifica, Orion by K2B Tools, and SD+. We've also worked on user controls, stencils, base styles, patterns, and the sketch import for mobile and web applications. And we are also working on DS objects so that the knowledge we include in our GeneXus applications for design are future-proof. What's the vision? Our vision is that, well, we are interested in UX, and UX is important for us. So we can tell you over the break more about it. What do design systems mean for the future?
Bueno, los design systems y el futuro.
One of the things that used to happen when we talked about design systems was that people thought they were going to restrain you, that they limit our creativity. All right. Now, I don't know for iOS, but it's a different way of customizing. You can download a design system for Materia and you customize it. And once it's materialized, you go on being tied up to it. There are funny things that are occurring in the evolution of design systems. One of the ones that really amused me the most was the following. Now, what happens if we take the principles, patterns, and practice about design systems and we add some things? For instance, rules and automation. You know what happens when you take those 2 things? You create something that is called generative design systems. For instance, this image is generated. How, from automating and following certain design rules, you can generate things of final design products. Joshua Davis has a course. If you're interested in this, you can go into joshuadavis.com. Starting with certain rules, they generate final products, and that could be interesting. The same thing happens in this project for NASA, Sediment Mars. On the basis of rules, they generated many posters and things, you know, doing with colors and things that NASA needed. Everything is generated. So there's a whole world that is beginning to explode related to this generative processes. Now, what happens if we add feedback loops and machine learning to principles, patterns, and practices? To start with, we could put some AI in to tell us what is being used and how we can improve and what there is a positive feedback and where we don't get any positive feedback. So we have AI assisted plus design systems. Now, Adobe has a product called Adobe Sensei. It's got machine learning applied to a product to design on the basis of previous experiences and things that we know about what people like or that they make them achieve specific issues. You can create a specific product. The other thing is Netflix. Netflix has a design system for images, and it's using some machine learning. So on the basis of what I like, the type of programs or films, when I click on some of these images, it's going to generate customized images for each one of the users so that I can see the films I like, but clicking on the images I like. I don't know if you've seen this. Every program has a different image depending on the profile of each person, depending on what that person has clicked before. For instance, if you are interested in comedies or in soap operas, If you have clicked on Robert De Niro's face, you're going to have the face of other actors as well. It realizes what you like, and it's going to follow along that. I wasn't here at Alejandro's lecture, but he mentioned many examples. Advertising is precisely that. There are some positive things and others that are not.
Bueno, ¿y qué pasa si nosotros?
Now, what happens if we release principal patterns and practices that I mentioned in a minute, and what happens if we add a printer, any type of printer? Now, we have design systems for things. This is an example of design systems for stuff. It's good for everything. This is an example. This little pin men are designed automatically when someone wants to print a card, for instance. On this basis, you can create physical products that are fully customized for each one of the users on the basis of certain rules. You can use that, but you can also make real buildings. Autodesk has many examples. In generative design, you can go into Autodesk on the basis of certain rules and restrictions. You can generate a surface, for instance, that doesn't reflect sound or reflect sound with these materials. Imagine if this is the design for the ceiling of an auditorium not to have echo. So by experimenting, well, they can generate that, and they print this in a 3D printer. That's funny, but the one I liked the best was that using that same technique, you can also do other things, like an interplanetary lander that has the same resistance as metal, but is far lighter. All this is generative design. I think this is super interesting. So we are moving from this world, which is the digital world where design systems go from atoms, molecules, we are going to, on the basis of certain parameters, we are coming to physical, real physical objects. My final thoughts to share with you. The first thing is that design systems are very strong now, but design systems are the future. We have embraced them fully in GeneXus. We are pushing so that the community adopts them, but that would be design systems as they are now. But the best opportunity is to see what opportunities there are to include design systems in additional technologies to generate new things. And that's why my talk was called Innovating with Design Systems. This is an invitation to see what you can do. That's our invitation. Go out, invite, adopt design systems, innovate, and we are going to be expecting you back in GX30 to see what you've done. Thank you.